The John Atta Mills Presidential Library at Cape Coast is now opened to the public. The ceremony at which the facility was inaugurated was attended by former President of Malawi, Mrs. Joyce Banda. It forms part of activities to commemorate the 4th anniversary of the death of former President Atta Mills. President John Mahama said the world will be a better place for all if the principles by which the late President Atta Mills lived are emulated. Napoleon Atukito reports.
Cape Coast, one of the two places closely associated with the late President John Atta Mills, could be found in rhapsody as many trooped there to witness one of his memorials. There stands the John Atta Mills Presidential Library at Cape Coast. It is perfectly located in the touristic neighborhood of the Cape Coast Castle, an Anglican church, and the Mantimanzi Palace that houses the Ugwe Traditional Council. The John Atta Mills Presidential Library is the first such library to be graded in the uppermost category. It will be a reference point for all the speeches and works of the late president, spanning a broad spectrum of academic material. The late Professor John Atta Mills was a legal luminary and a development economist. Thus, the library's talk will especially reflect these. The library is affiliated with the University of Cape Coast and the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA.
Obviously, the rationale for establishing such a facility stems from the fact that most valuable presidential papers often get missing once the president leaves office. And this may simply be due to the fact that no suitable machinery is usually put in place to preserve these papers. One can cite a classic case of our own recent past when our first president, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's papers were burnt after his overthrow in 1966.
On the first anniversary of his death, the successor to the late President John Mahama cut the sword for work on this project to begin. His presence and that of the former President of Malawi and her husband, Joyce and Justice Banda, gave the day the color it deserved. President John Mahama opened his speech by quoting a frequent salutation made by the late Atta Mills.
Late President Professor Mills would have loved to say, "My brothers and sisters."
Nothing could have brought fond memories about the former president than that. President John Mahama said the location of the library tells a story. The castle, a colonial relic of slavery, reminds us of a past inhumanity. Facing the castle is the library, whose contents speak about a man whose life stood affront to those negatives.
Another lesson we should take home from Professor Mills is his tolerance of different perspectives. That was his way of life. And so he listened to everybody, no matter your stature in life. He was receptive to ideas, including those that challenged a position he had already taken.
The photo essay in Professor Mills's remembrance brochure or album absolutely recasts the former Ghanaian leader. His deeds, words, posture and demeanor confirms that he was a true statesman whose principles were diametrically opposed to Machiavellian culture. No wonder upon his death, the opposition and his own political kindred came together to celebrate him. From Cape Coast, Napoleon Atukito reporting.